Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take the sources you send us, articles, notes, research, and really try to get to the heart of the matter. Today we're diving into something I personally find really compelling: creative visualization. You've sent in some great material on this, the science, the practice, even some surprising history and philosophy behind it. Like many people, I first wondered, is this just wishful thinking? Pop psychology. But our goal today, our mission, is to unpack creative visualization. Let's separate the facts from maybe the fantasy and really understand what its potential is. Because, well, it seems like it's much more than just seeing it in your mind. It looked like a pretty profound cognitive tool. It's got deep roots and actually some surprising scientific backing too. Okay, so we hear this term creative visualization thrown around quite a bit. For someone trying to understand what it really is, at its core, beyond the self-help buzzwords, how would you define it? Is it just like glorified daydreaming? Or is there something more structured there?
Oh, it's definitely more than just idle daydreaming.
Yeah.
Creative visualization, properly understood, is a pretty sophisticated, deliberate cognitive function. Think of it more like the purposeful, structured use of your mental imagery. And the goal is to influence your emotions, your feelings, and ultimately, your psychological and even physiological states. It's about intentionally generating these mental pictures to simulate experiences, but in a controlled way.
That's immediately interesting because, as you hinted, this isn't some brand new, new age thing.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the mind's eye, mentis oculi, right? That goes back to Cicero, the Roman orator.
Yeah.
He apparently noted how our mental vision can be guided towards things we know, not just abstract stuff. And then Chaucer, centuries later, wrote about a character who was blind but could still perceive the world through the eyes of his mind.
Exactly.
It really highlights this seems to be a universal human thing, observed for ages.
Absolutely. It's been recognized for millennia. And the cognitive process itself, it's not just a single zap in your head. It's often broken down into 4 stages sequentially. Understanding these helps you see why practice consistency is so important. First, there's image generation, just creating the mental picture. It could be from memory, it could be fantasy, it could be a mix. Then, and this is crucial, image maintenance. You have to intentionally sustain that image. Mental images, well, they decay fast if you don't consciously hold on to them, like trying to hold a thought when you're distracted, poof, it's gone.
Ah, okay. So that explains why focus is key. It needs active effort.
Precisely. Then third is image inspection, actively looking at the details in your mental image. And finally, image transformation. This is where you modify or alter the image. Super important in therapy, for example, like turning something scary into something manageable.
Okay, so if it has these distinct stages, does the term visualization itself feel maybe a bit narrow, like it's only about seeing?
That's a really common misconception, and you've hit on a key point there. While it often starts with the visual, its power, its efficacy is dramatically boosted when it becomes multisensory. Your brain can generate mental stuff across all senses. Hearing, taste, smell, touch, that's haptic, and even motor imagery, like feeling the movement.
Wow, okay.
So when you imagine an experience using multiple senses, hearing the applause, feeling the trophy, smelling the, champagne Gruben, you activate many of the same brain regions as the actual experience.
Ah, right.
This makes the neural footprint much deeper, much more impactful. So maybe, creative simulation or multisensory rehearsal might actually be more accurate terms.
So it's about making that mental movie as rich and real as possible, almost like tricking your brain into thinking it's already real. That makes a lot more sense. And speaking of getting things clear, creative visualization often gets mixed up with other concepts. You hear manifestation, law of attraction. Can you help us tease those apart? What are the key differences?
Absolutely. And it's really vital to differentiate these if you want to understand it properly and use it effectively. Okay, so creative visualization, that's self-directed. You, the individual, you're the author. You modify the imagery. And the main goal is usually changing your internal state, your beliefs, confidence, motivation, that sort of thing.
Got it.
Now, guided imagery, that's different. It's typically led by a practitioner or maybe a recording. You follow a pre-scripted story, usually for a specific therapeutic goal like relaxation or managing pain. It's more like a treatment you receive, not a skill you build yourself.
Okay, so one is active creation, the other is more passive following.
Right. Then you have manifestation. That's a much broader term. It's a whole overarching idea of bringing something you desire into your physical reality. And the law of attraction, that's a specific metaphysical principle. The whole attracts-like idea tries to explain how manifestation supposedly happens.
So where does creative visualization fit into that picture?
Crucially, creative visualization isn't manifestation itself. It's often seen as a tool or a technique used to help with manifestation. The idea is it generates focused thoughts and, really importantly, the positive feelings that are believed to align your energy with what you want. Think of it like maybe the engine in the car, not the destination itself.
Okay, that's a helpful analogy. Given all these slightly different shades of meaning, why is it so important for us, for you listening, to really get these distinctions right?
Well, because understanding precisely prevents confusion.
Yeah.
Right. It lets you apply the technique accurately. And maybe most importantly, it helps you set realistic expectations. Without these distinctions, you might end up, trying to use the wrong tool for the job or expecting sort of magical results from what's essentially a psychological technique, or just getting confused about what's causing what.
It's easy to think this is all pretty new, isn't it? Like a modern self-help invention. But what's really striking is how far back these core ideas seem to go.
Oh, absolutely. The basic practice using focused mental imagery for some kind of personal change, it has ancient roots. You can find echoes of it way back in ancient meditative traditions. Some of the earliest hints might be in the Hindu Vedas from ancient India, like 1500 BC, though back then it was probably more about spiritual growth than, say, getting a better job.
Right, different goals, same basic mechanism maybe.
Possibly. It makes you wonder if our ancestors intuitively knew something about the mind that we're only now starting to measure scientifically. But the more direct ancestor, the philosophical one for modern creative visualization, is definitely the 19th century New Thought movement. That was mainly in the US and UK. And its core idea was pretty radical for the time, that your mind is causative, that what you think directly influences, even manifests, your actual life experience.
Wow.
Early writers in that movement, people like William Walker Atkinson, he actually popularized the phrase law of attraction back in 1906. And Wallace D. Wattles, who wrote The Science of Getting Rich, they really laid down that metaphysical foundation.
Okay, so they set the stage. But then who are the key people who really brought these ideas, maybe simplified them, and pushed them into the mainstream, made them accessible?
Well, the really big one was probably Shakti Gawain. Her book, Creative Visualization, came out in 1978. What she did so well was translate those sometimes abstract New Thought principles into a really accessible, practical method, like her famous 4-step process. Her book became a huge staple in the New Age movement.
I remember seeing that book everywhere.
Exactly. Then, fast forward almost 30 years, you get Rhonda Byrne with The Secret in 2006, the film and the book. That just globalized the whole law of attraction concept. It exploded into this massive cultural phenomenon, reaching millions who'd never heard of New Thought.
Right, The Secret was unavoidable for a while there.
Yeah, and today you have modern proponents like, say, Vishen Lakhiani, who often blend Gawain's techniques with newer language around neuroscience and, mind hacking.
So we've traced the history, but it feels like there's this persistent thread of metaphysical belief running through a lot of it. For some listeners, that might be where they start to feel a bit skeptical. How does that more, let's say, spiritual or metaphysical view explain how creative visualization works?
That's a really important question because, these metaphysical claims are often what create the divide or the controversy. The core claims, usually tied into the law of attraction framework, generally go something like this. First, the universe itself is fundamentally energy, a huge vibrating field.
Okay.
Second, your thoughts, they're also energy, a kind of fine, mobile energy that can interact with and influence that universal field.
Right.
Third, this energy is magnetic. That's the like attracts like bit. Mm-hmm. The idea is your thoughts, being energy, attract similar energies or experiences back to you. And finally, the idea that form follows idea. Your thought acts as a blueprint, an energetic template, guiding physical energy to manifest into reality.
Okay, I can see how that framework would explain things, metaphysically speaking, but I also know this whole framework has faced some pretty serious pushback and criticism. What are the main points of contention there?
Indeed, it has. The biggest critique from a scientific perspective is that these claims are fundamentally non-falsifiable. You can't really test them or disprove them scientifically. And The Secret, in particular, got a lot of heat for implying, sometimes quite directly, that individuals are exclusively responsible for everything that happens to them.
Yeah, I remember that criticism.
Right. Which can, unfortunately, lead straight into what people call victim blaming. If you take it literally, things like poverty, illness, even abuse could be seen as just the result of someone's negative thoughts or vibrations. And that completely ignores incredibly important factors like societal structures, economics, biology, systemic injustice, things way outside an individual's mental control.
That's a really serious ethical concern.
It is. So the big challenge really is to try and disentangle the potentially useful psychological technique, the visualization itself, from this sometimes problematic, pseudoscientific philosophical baggage it often carries.
Okay, so let's pivot then. Let's try to do exactly that. Let's get into the science. Why does this seem to actually work psychologically and neurologically? Because like you said, it seems much more about maybe cognitive behavioral self-training than any kind of external magic.
Exactly. And the science is actually pretty fascinating. The cornerstone is really neuroplasticity in action. Specifically, there's this principle called functional equivalence. Brain imaging studies using things like fMRI consistently show something remarkable. Vividly imagining doing an action activates many of the exact same neural pathways and brain regions as actually doing it.
Wow, really? The same pathways?
Largely, yes. So think of an athlete mentally rehearsing a perfect golf swing. Their motor cortex lights up in a very similar pattern to when they physically swing the club. It's like the brain gets a practice run, a rehearsal, without the body needing to move.
So the brain doesn't fully distinguish between vivid imagination and reality.
It seems there's less distinction than we might think, especially in terms of neural activation patterns. And this functional equivalence plugs right into neuroplasticity, the brain's amazing ability to reorganize itself based on experience. Every time you repeat a thought or an action, the neural pathway for it gets stronger, more efficient. Neurons that fire together wire together, right?
I heard that one.
So creative visualization acts as this mental rehearsal. It repeatedly fires specific brain circuits associated with your goal. You're essentially programming or maybe grooving your brain for that desired outcome. That's why you see studies like one finding that just visualizing muscle exercises actually increased measurable muscle strength by, I think it was around 35%.
Just by thinking about it.
By strengthening the neural pathways that control the muscles, it's quite something. And there's even emerging research looking into epigenetics, how positive mental practices might influence gene expression. Still early days there, though.
That's genuinely mind-blowing. How does cognitive psychology explain the process? What models help us understand it?
Cognitive science gives us several useful angles. We talked about the multisensory aspect. That's huge. By engaging multiple senses, seeing, feeling the emotions, maybe hearing success sounds, you're giving your brain more hooks to hang on to that memory or goal. Multiple filing systems, if you like.
Makes it stickier.
Exactly. More robust, more memorable. This ties into theories like dual coding theory, which suggests we have separate but connected systems for verbal information, like affirmations, and imaginal information, the visualization. Combining them is powerful. There's also the cognitive theory of multimedia learning, looking at how we process visual info, and the creative cognition approach, which sees visualization as having two phases, generating new mental images and then exploring them for insights or solutions.
And what about motivation? Does it explain that too?
Yes, expectancy theory is relevant here. It suggests that visualization strengthens your belief, your expectancy, that putting in effort will actually lead to the desired outcome. And when you believe your actions will be effective, your motivation to actually do them goes way up.
Okay, that makes intuitive sense. What about the subconscious and those brainwave states people talk about? That's where it sometimes sounds a bit mystical.
It does, but we can look at it scientifically too. The subconscious mind, or perhaps more accurately, non-conscious processing, is thought to communicate very effectively through images and symbols, more so than linear language. So the idea is that visualization can bypass the conscious mind's critical filters and impress goals more directly onto these deeper levels of processing, helping align your underlying thoughts and automatic behaviors.
So speaking its language, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. And brainwave states play a role. Alpha brainwaves, which are dominant during deep relaxation or light meditation, often the state people are in during visualization. Well, the brain in an alpha state is generally considered more receptive to suggestion, more open to forming new associations and neural pathways, less critical chatter.
Okay. And you mentioned the RAS earlier.
Right, the reticular activating system, RAS. Super important piece. Think of it as your brain's gatekeeper or filter. It decides what sensory information gets your conscious attention out of the millions of bits coming in every second.
The bouncer at the club door of your awareness.
Yeah, exactly. When you intensely and repeatedly focus on a goal through visualization, you're essentially programming your RAS. You're telling it, hey, anything related to this goal is highly important. Let it through. So you start selectively noticing things in your environment, opportunities, resources, information related to your goal that you might have completely ignored before. That's the classic example. You decide you want a specific type of red car, and suddenly you see red cars everywhere. They were always there, but now your RAS is flagged to notice them.
Got it. That explains that phenomenon perfectly.
So if you put it all together, it's this powerful feedback loop, right? Mental rehearsal strengthens neural pathways, neuroplasticity. That primes your RAS to notice relevant stuff. This boosts your motivation and self-belief, expectancy theory, which then drives you to take more aligned actions in the real world. And taking action leads to better results. The power isn't some external magic pulling things to you. It's largely an internal cascade of these cognitive and physiological shifts, changing how you perceive and interact with the world.
Okay, that paints a really clear science-based picture. Fantastic. So we've got the what and the why. For listeners now thinking, okay, I want to try this, or we're going to try it better. How do you actually do it effectively? What are the practical steps?
Right. Let's get practical. The most widely known framework probably comes from Shakti Gawain, and it's pretty intuitive. 4 basic steps. First, set your goal. Sounds obvious, but it needs to be specific, something you genuinely believe is attainable for you. And clear, not vague.
Okay, clarity first.
Second, create a clear picture. Make it vivid, detailed. Crucially, imagine it in the present tense as if it's happening now, and bring in those multiple senses we talked about. Third, focus on it often. Regular, consistent repetition. That's what builds the neural pathways. Even short sessions daily are better than one long one weekly.
Consistency over duration.
Exactly. And finally, fourth, give it positive energy. This means consciously associating positive emotions, joy, gratitude, excitement with the image, use affirmations, and importantly, try to temporarily suspend doubt during the practice time. There are similar models, like a 5-step one that also emphasizes starting with mental relaxation and cultivating a sense of healthy detachment from the specific outcome.
Are there specific techniques like exercises someone could use on top of those core steps?
Oh, absolutely. There's a whole toolkit you can draw from to enhance the practice or just keep it engaging. Vision boards are super popular. Physical or digital collages of images representing your goals, they act as constant environmental reminders, kind of passively priming your RAS all day long.
Right. Keeps it top of mind.
Exactly. Affirmations, positive statements about yourself or your goals in the present tense. When you combine saying or thinking affirmations with the visualization, you're hitting both the verbal and imaginal systems. That dual coding theory, again, makes it stronger.
Okay.
Scripting or dream journaling is another powerful one. You write out in detail a description of your desired future reality as if it's already happened using the present tense. It's like writing the scene from your future life. Really potent mental rehearsal.
I like that idea. Writing it down makes it concrete.
It does. Then there are more structured visualization exercises. The mental screen technique. Imagine a movie screen in your mind. First, project your current situation onto it. Then, mentally swipe it away and replace it with a vivid, detailed movie of your desired reality playing out. The 3-scene technique is another narrative one. First scene, visualize your current situation honestly. Second scene, visualize yourself taking the necessary actions, overcoming the obstacles. Third scene, visualize the final successful outcome, gives it a story arc.
Action-oriented, I like that.
Yeah. And finally, mental rehearsal itself, which is maybe the most focused version. This is huge in sports. Meticulously visualizing every single step of a specific task or performance. Like a public speaker mentally walking through their entire talk. The stage, the audience, the words, the pauses, feeling confident, every detail matters.
Okay, lots of tools there. You mentioned positive energy and motion earlier. How crucial are those elements, really? And belief and consistency. Are these like the secret ingredients?
They really are. Think of them as the non-negotiables if you want this to work effectively. First, emotion. It is absolutely the catalyst, the turbocharger. A mental image without feeling is just, well, a flat thought. It's the emotion, feeling the joy, the success, the peace, whatever fits the goal that gives the visualization its neurological weight, its impact. That's the magnetic energy, if you want to use that term metaphorically.
So feeling is maybe even more important than the picture itself.
Many practitioners would argue yes, or at least equally important. The feeling state is what signals to your nervous system that this is real and important. Second, belief. It's foundational. If you're simultaneously visualizing success but consciously thinking this is stupid, it'll never work, you're sending conflicting signals.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you need 100% unwavering faith from day one, but cultivating trust in the process and consciously suspending disbelief during your practice sessions is key.
Okay, manage the inner critic during practice.
Exactly. And third, consistency. This is maybe the most overlooked. Creative visualization is a skill, like learning piano or working out. It's not a magic wand you wave once. The benefits are cumulative. They come from regular, even short, seriously, 3 to 10 minutes can be effective daily practice. That consistency is what really drives the neuroplasticity, grooves those new neural pathways, and makes the changes stick.
Right. It's mental training requires reps.
Precisely.
So where is this actually being used effectively in the real world? Beyond just, someone trying to manifest a parking spot, what are the serious applications?
Oh, it's applied across a really diverse range of fields, often in very practical, evidence-informed ways. In personal development and goal achievement, obviously, it helps clarify goals, primes the RAS to spot opportunities, boosts confidence, increases motivation through expectancy. And here, it's really useful to distinguish between outcome visualization, just seeing the end result, the trophy, and process visualization.
Process visualization.
Yeah, mentally rehearsing the steps, the actions, the effort needed to get there, handling challenges along the way. Research actually suggests that for complex goals, like studying for a big exam or learning a new skill, process visualization might be even more effective than just focusing on the outcome.
Interesting. Why is that?
Possibly because it builds self-efficacy for the doing part, reduces anxiety about the steps involved, and mentally prepares you for the effort, rather than just giving you the pleasant feeling of success without the work.
So maybe combine both. Visualize the process and the outcome.
That's often the recommendation, yes. Get the motivation from the outcome, but build the plan and confidence with the process. Then there's health, wellness, and clinical applications. Visualization, especially guided imagery, is widely used to induce the relaxation response. This has measurable benefits, lowers blood pressure, heart rate, stress hormones like cortisol, great for anxiety, stress management. It's also used in pain management, helping people change their perception of pain, and for helping patients cope with unpleasant treatment side effects, like nausea from chemotherapy.
So improving quality of life and sense of control.
Exactly. It's crucial to state it's not typically presented as a cure for major diseases on its own, but as a powerful supportive tool. Sports psychology is probably where it's most accepted and scientifically validated. Elite athletes use mental rehearsal constantly.
Yeah, you hear about that all the time.
Because it works. It stimulates those same brain regions used in physical performance. It helps with skill acquisition, rehearsing strategies, controlling anxiety before competition, building confidence, even speeding up injury rehabilitation. And the research is clear. Combining mental practice with physical practice is superior to physical practice alone.
That's compelling evidence.
Definitely. And finally, business and entrepreneurship. Leaders use it to enhance performance in high-pressure situations, negotiations, important presentations, builds confidence, reduces jitters. It's also a strategic tool. Clarifying a company vision, mentally walking through different scenarios or strategic plans. I read about a CEO who used visualization to navigate a major crisis, imagining himself as a calm ship's captain steering through a storm. It helped him transform abstract chaos into actionable priorities.
So it fosters clarity, resilience, foresight, useful leadership tools.
Absolutely.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly positive, almost like a superpower. But let's put on our critical thinking hats. To keep balanced, what are the limitations? Where does it fall short? Are there potential downsides or pitfalls we need to be aware of?
Excellent question. Yes, there are definitely limitations and potential pitfalls. One really interesting one, backed by research, is sometimes called the demotivating power of fantasy.
Demotivating.
Studies have found that if you focus only on fantasizing about the wonderful positive outcome, it can actually reduce your energy and motivation to pursue the goal in reality. It's like your brain gets a premature sense of pleasure and accomplishment just from the fantasy, so it feels less need to expend effort in the real world.
Okay. So that reinforces why process visualization, imagining the effort, is so important.
Precisely. It grounds the practice in reality and seems to fuel motivation rather than potentially sapping it. Then there are cognitive and individual differences. It just doesn't work the same for everyone. Effectiveness can vary based on things like your natural ability to get absorbed in mental imagery or your working memory capacity. People with ADHD might find the sustained focus challenging. And for the small percentage of the population with aphantasia, the inability to consciously form mental images, maybe 2-3% of people purely visual techniques obviously won't work. They'd need to focus on other sensory or conceptual methods.
Right, it's not one size fits all.
Definitely not. And a crucial point. Visualization is not a substitute for action. It's a powerful catalyst, a mental preparation tool, but it absolutely doesn't replace the need for consistent, real-world effort and strategy. You still have to do the work.
It primes you for action, doesn't replace it.
Exactly. And lastly, from a research perspective, there are often confounding variables. People rarely use visualization in isolation. They might also be setting goals, meditating, journaling, getting coaching. This makes it hard sometimes for studies to perfectly isolate the specific effect of just the visualization component.
Okay, those are important practical limitations. But I feel like there's another layer here. The deeper critiques, maybe even dangers, especially related to that law of attraction philosophy we touched on. What are those concerns?
You're right. There are definitely more profound critiques and potential dangers to consider. The philosophical critique around victim blaming is probably the most serious ethical issue, particularly linked to interpretations like those in The Secret. The implication that individuals are solely responsible for everything that happens to them, including suffering caused by external factors like poverty, illness, or abuse, simply because of their thoughts or vibrations. That's widely seen as not just simplistic, but potentially deeply harmful and lacking compassion. It ignores systemic realities entirely. Some call it toxic positivity or harmful magical thinking.
A very heavy critique.
It is. Then there are potential psychological dangers. For someone with a history of significant trauma, trying unguided visualization could inadvertently bring up distressing memories or feelings. It could potentially be re-traumatizing if not handled carefully, ideally with professional support. Some practitioners also caution that combining visualization with other very potent consciousness-altering techniques, like certain types of intense breath work or deep hypnosis, without proper training and knowledge could, in rare cases for vulnerable individuals, carry a risk of triggering psychosis. It needs to be approached mindfully.
Okay, caution is needed for certain individuals or combinations?
Yes.
Yeah.
And finally, from some spiritual or theological perspectives, there can be concerns. Certain viewpoints are suspicious of techniques that seem to focus on self-power or manifesting desires, viewing it as potentially rooted in occultism or diverting focus from traditional spiritual paths or reliance on a higher power. They might point out its use in various magical rituals or by psychics, raising concerns about spiritual deception.
So a range of critiques from different angles.
Exactly. And this really underscores the importance of that distinction we talked about earlier. It seems crucial to consciously adopt the scientific visualization paradigm, seeing it as a cognitive psychological training tool, and to be very wary of, or perhaps discard, the purely metaphysical visualization paradigm that treats it like a magic wishing well, because failing to make that distinction clearly can lead to confusion, unrealistic expectations, self-blame, and potentially harmful applications.
That distinction feels absolutely key. Okay, so bringing this all together, after exploring the history, the science, the techniques, the applications, the critiques, what does this really mean for us? For the listener trying to make sense of it all and maybe use it wisely?
I think it means the power of creative visualization is definitely real, but it's widely misunderstood. It's not about magically bending external reality to your will through thought alone. Instead, it's a demonstrably potent psychological tool for systematically changing your internal reality, the landscape of your own mind, your brain's wiring, your nervous system's responses. And when you achieve that internal transformation, changes in your external behavior, your choices, your resilience, and ultimately your outcomes often follow quite naturally.
So the change is internal first, leading to external results.
Precisely. It's best understood as a structured process of cognitive and emotional self-training. It creates that self-reinforcing feedback loop we mapped out. Mental rehearsal drives neuroplasticity, that primes your RAS filter, that enhances motivation and self-efficacy, which leads to different behaviors, which leads to different results. That model successfully demystifies it, bringing it out of the realm of magic and squarely into applied psychology and neuroscience. And to get the best results, you really need to move beyond the simplistic pop culture advice. Shift from focusing only on the outcome to prioritizing process visualization too. Move beyond just visual images to engaging multiple senses. And crucially, shift your focus from just wishing for something to actively regulating and cultivating the desired emotional and physiological states within yourself.
That's a much more nuanced and actionable approach. So based on everything we've discussed, what would be your top practical recommendations for listeners who want to approach this in a balanced, informed, and effective way?
Okay, boiling it down, I'd suggest these key things. 1, clarify your paradigm. Consciously decide you're using the scientific model visualization as mental training. Be wary or discard the purely metaphysical wishing well model to avoid self-blame and magical thinking.
Got it. Choose your framework.
2, prioritize process visualization. Don't only focus on the finish line. Dedicate at least half your visualization time, maybe more for complex goals, to mentally rehearsing the steps, the effort, overcoming obstacles. 3, engage holistically. Use a first-person perspective, see it through your own eyes, and really work to engage multiple senses. What would you see, hear, feel, physically and emotionally in that desired scenario?
Make it immersive.
Exactly. 4, practice with consistency. Treat it like mental exercise. Short, daily sessions, even just 5 or 10 minutes, are far more effective for building those neural pathways than sporadic long sessions. It's about the regularity. 5, pair with action. Critically important. Use visualization as a springboard, a motivator, a planner for real-world action. Let it inform your to-do list. Don't let it replace your to-do list.
Visualization inspires action, not substitutes for it.
Perfectly put. And finally, 6, be aware of your psychological state. If you're dealing with significant trauma, severe anxiety, depression, or other mental health challenges, please seek guidance from a qualified therapist before diving deep into visualization, especially unguided. They can help you do it safely and effectively.
Excellent practical advice.
Yeah.
This deep dive has really illuminated that while our imagination might not magically bend the laws of physics around us, it undeniably holds a profound power to shape the very architecture of our own brains. It can help fortify our confidence, calm our anxieties, sharpen our focus, and ultimately better equip us to navigate the challenges and opportunities of the external world.
I think that's spot on. The true power here, when you strip away the hype, isn't that it offers some easy, magical path to getting whatever we want. It's that it provides a disciplined, trainable method for becoming who we need to be internally, developing the mindset and resilience to then go out and achieve what we want through our actions.
So maybe when it's harnessed with that scientific understanding, with realistic expectations, and importantly with consistent, focused effort, the simple act of closing your eyes and vividly imagining a better future really is the first concrete step in actively, consciously creating a better self to meet that future.